Well, hello and welcome to PM Personality Profile. My name is Nana Ansakwa IV, and today I'm bringing you a very, very special personality, Nana Adowa Awindor, or Bapenyi Adowa Awindor. Now a queen mother, so you know I have to give her all the traditional grace and airs and respect. But she has contributed a lot to the development of our nation. And indeed, when I say development, I'm talking about the human capital, not just infrastructure. Why do I say that? Probably the first woman to set up a production company, has a foundation that concerns and deals with the upkeep of women and children. But I'm here to find out how she grew up, how she gets motivated, and how she keeps going. Folks, today I bring you Nana Adowa Awindor. Don't move. Well, thank you very much for staying tuned. And you see, it's only on PM Express that you get really, really unusual exclusive. Now, on which other TV channel would you tune to find a chief and a queen mother sat there where the chief is interviewing the queen mother? So, I mean, this doesn't get more exclusive than this. Folks, it's going to be very exciting. And as I've already introduced you, I'm talking to Nana Adowa Awindor, who's also in Nanahemaa for Kwabre, Efija Kwabre district. We're going to find out how it all happened because I know she doesn't come from there. I always bump into her in events, you know, and I just say hello and walk past and I say, I wish one day I can just talk to her. So this job gives me that perfect opportunity, you know, to ask all the questions I would have wanted to ask. But thank you for inviting me to your house.
You're most welcome to our village.
You see now, yeah, you know, just a suburb of Accra, that's where we are.
Yeah.
But let me just start, you know, I've always been wondering, I mean, were you the type, you know, born in a village, grew up there and then came to Accra? Do you have that story, or born and bred Accra?
No, I was not born and bred in Accra, but I happened to be the first daughter of two educationists. And knowing what happens with educationists, you travel along when your parents are being transferred from one location to the other.
Yeah.
So even though I was born in a remote area, I had opportunity of traveling around cities, towns, villages. So I have that kind of advantage of seeing more in my childhood than probably many others would have done.
Education is so. That's where the economy, you know, the discipline and the zeal. So now, I can even end the interview here. I can even end the interview here.
You can bet on that.
So dad was a teacher, mom was a teacher, or one was a head teacher?
Both were teachers.
Okay.
My mom started with the smaller ones and then went up to middle school. My dad started from middle school and ended up as education officer through secondary school, assistant headmaster and all that. Wow. So they went through, in fact, district education officer and all that, you know. So before they both retired, they had actually advanced in their career. My mom had become also a district education officer as well. So eventually we all ended up doing teaching one way or the other, you know.
Now, I mean, back then, when somebody was a teacher, I mean, if you go into any town, they were on par with the chief. The chief, the teacher, and the priest were literally the holy trinity of the town. How did you cope with the discipline at home? Because I'm sure there must have been some discipline in the house.
Not there must have been, there was. There was. My dad, we used to call him the British-trained Presbyterian.
Oh. Presbyterian.
Put the two together and you know what I'm talking about. He was apt in discipline. And the fortunate or unfortunate thing is that we were born girls. 1, 2, 3, 4 girls back to back. Wow. And because my father didn't have boys, he trained us to be like one. So we're climbing trees.
The sons he never had.
he made us the sons he never had. You know, we were doing everything, washing cars, ironing clothes, you know, like you iron his shirts and he would look at it like that, you know, and see no creases. That's the kind of father that we had. But in all that, you know, if you look back, from now, you realize that it was an amazing time we had, because upbringing today and those days has a lot of differences, and I think that we had a very good time with upbringing.
I mean, let me just tell you, it's good about looking back. Why is it that when discipline is going on, we never appreciate it, but then you grow and then you look back and think, what a wonderful life I had back then. Meanwhile, I'm sure if I were to reverse it now, you say, no, I'm going to move away from home. I'm fed up. I'm fed up with this discipline.
Oh, you're a kid. You're a kid. So you're thinking is it within that perimeter. So when you're growing, you begin to appreciate some things that happen to you. But I think that is why we keep telling our children, you know, we've had all these experiences before. We don't want you to go through it again, but they still think we are being punished.
You're too old.
You know, we're too old, old-fashioned. You don't know what's the in thing. You know, you leave me alone to live my life and all that. But thank God we also have kids who understand and are also very independent, and they understand the fact that our parents are somehow, you know, in some way that we don't want to go anyway to be contradictory. So it helps, especially even the younger ones. They understand, no, I don't want to do this. Mommy doesn't like that. Oh, daddy doesn't like this, you know. So beginning, you appeal to them, not to be too restrictive, but you appeal to them, their conscience, and let them understand why you do everything, why you do what you do in terms of discipline, so that they don't see it as punitive. They actually see it as corrective, and makes it even better.
So you must have thousands of schoolmates, because as they move, you keep changing schools.
Certainly. Certainly. We did, I think we started from Sechedumasi in Ashanti region. My daddy was in Winneba. My mommy was in Akrofoso. We went to Achidie in Ashanti Achim. Actually, that is even one of my adopted towns.
Wow.
Achidie in Ashanti Achim. We went to Mampon St. Monica's Secondary School. We did Domahinkro, and that is where I grew up properly.
Okay.
So it's my second hometown. And then I did secondary school throughout at Doma, and then I moved in to Accra to do my tertiary, and then traveled, you know, in and out all the other locations, you know. So, but then Kumasi, a Doomstool house is where we come from. So in between all those travels, we're back home. So I grew up actually under the feet of my grandfather, who was the chief then at a Doomstool house. Ah,
okay. So I mean, being within the traditional realms now, you're very much within your element.
You know,
very much within your element. So did you? So you did like Christmases and festivals back home in Adum, or?
Most of the time we were spending holidays.
Okay.
Spending holiday. Me especially. I don't know, for some reason. I mean, my siblings were with my mom more often, but I kind of detached very quickly, because I was in trade. You know, I was trading from my youth, from ages. So when I was going to say graduate. When we are on holidays, I'll go across borders, get some stuff, come to Kumasi, Adum. We used to have a shop around. We sell, you know, spend all the holidays doing business. Wow. And then as soon as they say, you pack all your things back to school.
Whoa.
You know, so that was the style. That was the kind of life that we lived. And I think probably it's because our parents were in education, and we tried to support them. I think that was, today I think that was it. You know, maybe I did it without.
I was just going to ask, where did you get that spirit from? Because
no, I think, but my mom traded.
Oh.
My mom traded she was teaching and trading. She did everything, needlework, cooking, frying, baking. She did everything.
Wow.
So probably that, you know, I was telling a friend a few days ago that I started carrying 1 box of sugar and following the house helps when they were going trading. And I would insist they buy my sugar first before they take anything from the bowl, you know, so that I will be carrying it and then walking along. But and when somebody wants to, in fact, you might even buy the sugar without thinking that, even if you don't need it, you might buy it because I was so cute and I'll be carrying the sugar. But it was fun to me, and I think maybe it helped groom us, because almost everybody has a little business, you know, like in them, and I think it helps. It helps because maybe we wanted more, and we just wanted a very nice way or more, you know, opportune way of getting more.
You see, I'm listening to you, and all I'm picking up is that, you know, like you work bits and pieces to earn, you know, your keep or whatever you want to build up eventually. And then if I fast forward back to today, where everybody thinks that by tomorrow I should be retired. You know, that spirit of, you know, start small and, you know, work big is just dead.
No, it does not work. The earlier we get to understand that, the better. It does not work like that. You need to build life. You need to build it from the scratch, grow it, groom it, nurture it, and see it mature. You know, there's nothing like shortcut to life.
No.
And anybody who feels like there should be knows the repercussions.
And I'm sure we look all around us today, and the repercussions are all around us. Sakawa this and Sakawa this. Everybody wants to just make it by tomorrow.
It doesn't happen.
But I can just picture you with your little box of sugar, you know, in the neighborhood.
In the neighborhood.
Sympathy selling. Sympathy selling.
I know.
So how was secondary school days for you?
Secondary school at the Mahinkru was amazing. The daddy that we had never gave us that kind of, I'm here in the school and you can go play whatever you want. You know, he was strict and saw to us that we play our discipline roles, we do whatever we're supposed to do, study when you have to study, play when you want to play. We were sports persons. I was running, I was playing hockey, basketball. My siblings were doing almost everything as well, you know. So it was amazing time, and we finished well and graduated well, and then we continued. So everything secondary school was at Domahinkru.
Wow.
Everything from first year to upper six.
Wow.
Was at Domahinkru.
Throughout secondary school, what was the dream? If I get out of school, I'm going to be a doctor, nurse, manager, engineer.
Well, I was doing art. My daddy is an artist. I was doing art, so I thought I could do something with my hands. But when I got to sixth form, I did business management. That's the time that it was introduced into the secondary school curriculum. So we were the first batch that did business management, if not in Ghana, in Domahinkru.
Okay.
So it helped build my, you know, understanding in business. So I think it shifted my attention a little bit. But then when I came out of secondary school, I was eager to do law.
Okay.
I don't know where it came from. And even though I was interested in journalism, I thought I could combine it. So I said maybe I could do investigative journalism, and with a legal background, I could do better. So
you know where to spy and where not to spy.
Yes, you know, and look into it and check people out. You know, but I got to make friends with some people in filmmaking, in production, and I think it's also, you know, shifted me a bit to filmmaking. And it happened when I met a friend of mine who had started a video company in Kumasi. Those days it was new. It's very new. And that time I was in between secondary school and tertiary. So I started working with him, and he trained me to become a camera person.
Okay.
And those days, it was new. It was not known in Ghana that a girl was holding a camera.
In those days, it was when they say camera, it was a camera. And when they say a camera,
it was a real camera. You know, so that is when I got hooked to film production. Because with that exposure, And because people got amazed when they saw me working, I got kind of excited a bit. But then the excitement didn't just end there. I think I got interested to do more. So when they were shooting African Timber years ago, you know, part of it was shot in Kumasi. And I was an extra in the film. I'm sure nobody will notice me when they look at the film, but I was an extra in the film. And during the shoot, I came across a very wonderful lady, Grace Ofoi, of blessed memory. She had finished NAFTI, and she was part of the team. And so we had, you know, we had a lot of conversation, and she was excited about me and the fact that I was in Kumasi and I was a camera woman. And she was like, I'm in Ghana, I've done this, I've graduated at NAFTI. I don't even use the camera. So she wasn't even shooting. She was doing more stills and more of production work, you know, management kind of thing. So he was actually on location supporting the production team. And that's where we met. And we talked at length. And she got me so excited about camera and all that. The truth is that when I eventually got to NAFTI, I didn't do camera. I did editing. But I think it was apt. It was for a purpose because I felt I knew camera. And then I said, well, let me do something else to complement the camera.
Editing.
So I did editing. And then when I was in school, I had opportunity of doing the camera properly, through Mr. Napud Bande, through Mr. Atedonto of blessed memory, and all the other wonderful lecturers that we had at NAFTI. So I came out a better camera person. So people actually knew me in Ghana as the woman cameraman, but I was doing editing professionally.
I see.
But I enhanced my abilities and my professionalism with the camera, and I was all over the place shooting Road to Victory, protocol jobs, assembly, whatever, political campaigns. Those days, it was everywhere.
Wow. Wow. Now stay tuned. Don't even move because we're going to come back and find out because I think she was one of the first women to set up her own production company, if not amongst the first. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. Hello, thank you for staying tuned. And as I said before, we intend it doesn't happen. Take note and soak it up. As I talked to Bapa and Adowa Encha, Bapa Adowa Encha and Kosohima, development chief. Don't we need them all about? But we're now moving to your production company, which is Premier Productions. So at which point did you decide, look, let me break loose now and start on my own? Because it wasn't common then, especially you being a woman.
Yes, of course, it wasn't. I think the first things were a few those days because I think that the challenge of rubbing shoulders with all my male counterparts doing production and all that encouraged me to do more. And those days, what actually prompted the company was that we started doing tiny things for people, social work, documentaries and all that. We were working in partnership with friends and others. Then at a point you realize that somebody asked you to do something and you needed to be, you know, certified. You needed to have something to show that you're capable of handling that kind of job. So I started with Dora Productions, and Dora is my English name,
Okay.
so it's dead.
See?
So I registered Dora Productions, which was a venture, and then ran it for about 2 years. I think it was from about, I was in school actually when I registered Dora.
Okay.
I was in NAFTI then. And then when I graduated and I was lecturing at NAFTI, I came in touch with other people and we also joined forces. And I changed the Dora, you know, Productions to Premier because it was the first that was being led by a woman.
Okay.
That's why I thought the Premier would mean something. It was not just a name. It meant that that was the first time that I, to the best of my knowledge, a woman was opening a production company in Ghana. So that was the purpose for the Premier name. So my godfather then, Professor J.K.M. Korte of blessed memory, was the key engine of that company, and then other partners joined, and we started working gradually again, from the scratch again. Got one camera from my uncle from the States, got one thing from here, another from there. But before that, we were producing, but we were working everywhere. We worked at a Greek in the seaside somewhere. And, you know, we worked at Ghana Films. We worked at everywhere, Christo Asafu Studios,
Wow.
everywhere. And you know, those days, people would normally work their normal hours and only give you opportunity to use their equipment in the evenings or in the nights. So we got used to it. You know, people work day, you work night. People work day, so go and stay here overnight. So we got so used to working 24/7, you know, because you need to deliver. You don't have the equipment, and the only time you can have equipment access is in the night. So
Wow.
people sleeping and you're working, you know. It was the norm, you know. And so these days I can sit 24/7. I don't even feel like there's time to sleep, but I think it's part of upbringing. You know, it's all part of the grooming and growing up, you know. So that is how Premier
Then
started. And then we did all kinds of work. One job led to another. You know, recommendation here, because we put in everything. We put in our all. Professionalism, time, attention, you know, attention to detail, output perfect.
Wow.
So your client is excited, and then they recommend us to another and another and another. And that's how come we were able to gather very good clientele. And then the productions extended into the TV series. And then that's how people go to hear about us. But Premier actually is a very tiny company. It's not a big company.
It's producing big things.
It's a very small company. It's been like that for all these years. Just that along the line, we expanded from our Osu shop into the Adabraka one, which was a bit, you know, elaborate, because those days we were selling professional equipment.
Okay.
Cameras, lights, sound equipment, and everything that actually was professional. Wow. You could get it from Premier Productions. And we made a mark in that aspect, because people, those days, TV stations and production companies were coming up, and people needed original stuff to use, and we tried to offer that kind of service and products. So it's actually groomed the company into another level. And then the normal natural disasters happened, and the shop was flooded twice.
Oh dear.
At Accra, at Araka, and so we lost almost what we have worked for over 10 to 15 years. Ooh. And if you go to Adabraka now, the shop is closed. It looks more like a miserable space.
Oh dear. did you set up a school attached to?
Yes, we had Premier Training College.
Okay.
Also Premier Training Center, and then it actually trained a lot of young people, and that's one of our excitement. One of our excitement was the training section, because it gave us opportunity to give what we have to the younger ones. And even though we set it up as a training center, we didn't see it too much as an income generating thing. People just paid a little money just for our lectures and upkeep, so we can also groom others.
Okay.
So it was more of giving out than a business. And we are actually working on turning the Premier Training Center into an academy. It's now a Premier Media Academy.
Okay.
And we want to wean it out into its own setup.
Oh.
So that gradually it can also start from the scratch to grow.
Well, I guess we need it. If you look at some of the caliber of creatures out there, I'm sure they could do with a training or two.
Yeah.
But I'm sure if I don't talk about greetings from abroad, my viewers are just going to come through the TV and bash us now, you know. So, I mean, obviously you must have spotted the window of opportunity and said, yes, that's what they need. What was it?
Greetings has an interesting story. You know, I mentioned that when I graduated, I lectured at NAFTI for 3 years as an editing lecturer. And during that time, I had opportunity to study at Radio Netherlands Training Center in Holland. And at the training school, you finish and you write a dissertation. It's the same as our thesis. And since we are filmmakers and radio, or we say multimedia personalities gathered from the whole world in that institute, we were given the opportunity to write and produce something of our own interest. So during the time that I was there, I had opportunity of visiting some of the Ghanaian communities. And I noticed that the story from Ghana and the ground was different. People thought that their relatives have traveled and they were already in glory. And I had visited Drofie, and people were living in bunk beds and remote areas and places that you are restricted almost like in prison.
Wow.
And so I said, so why are we telling a different story to our people than what the realities are? So I chose to do a documentary on the Ghanaian abroad. I'm not saying everybody was like that. There were people living well. There were people who had gone through regular systems. There were people who were owning businesses. But the majority of the people that I met, that I thought were in Abrochire, were living in houses called a Drofie. In those days, it was very common. So you see one in Amsterdam, you see one in Hilversum, you see one in Amheri, you see one in, Delft, you see one in all those places. So I'm asking that, why is it that our people live here and nobody has told the story to Ghana? But the unfortunate thing happened. 2 people say we will talk, the 3 others say we won't. The 2 people who says we will talk, the next time I come, somebody has poisoned their minds.
No way.
So no way, they won't talk again. So I stayed, worked on this project document for a long time, only to be disappointed the time that we were almost ready to shoot. So I turned around and did a quick thinking, and I changed my script, and I did something at KLM, at this Schiphol airport, and to talk about, as if the cockpit crew and the whatever and their experiences with flying. It came out very well, very, very well. But then I still had that idea that this story is not told. So when I came back to Ghana, I tried using UNICEF. I've forgotten the exact organization which worked on migration, not UNICEF. UNHCR, one of those that was interested in migration and all that. I tried to contact them to say, look, I had an experience in Holland and I want to do a travel to visit them. Some of them told me how they got there through the northern route and all that. And I thought it's something that we needed to share, the story. But I didn't get the support. I didn't get the sponsorship. I did a lot of walking around trying to, share proposals and all that. It didn't work. So I said, well, let's do something about this information. So when Prof. Awindor was in America doing his master's that time, he called me one day and said, Nana, that's your idea of the Ghanaian community in Chicago. There are so many here as well. I think you can repackage it into something that we can, offer people with fraternity greetings, and then it will be a more comfortable way for people to communicate. So we structured it into an edutainment package. So that is how greetings started.
Wow.
So you are greeting, but you are talking.
Talking.
So at the end of the day, it is not too much of the greetings that was our interest. Our interest was the conversation, the background information, the experiences shared, the relationships, the processes people were going through in establishing themselves abroad, and all the hitches that are in between. These were the communications that we wanted to share with Ghana. And I think we did. So over 10 years, if Ghana now says we have a 11th region, which is abroad, and we are even now asking Ghanaians abroad to vote, then at least greetings did something.
Wow.
Because we opened the eyes of people to know that we have such a huge resource outside. Even though a lot were going through a lot of hardship, people were struggling to live, not for themselves, but to support communities and our people back home. I think our minds were drawn to this group of people. And now we consider them as part of Ghana, even though they live far abroad.
Wow. So what would you do? Let's say you flew to London, maybe to Tottenham, and announce your presence. Look, come and greet somebody in Ghana and I'll send it for you.
Amazing question. Well, so those days people didn't know about it. So it was difficult to even get somebody to talk to you. So there were days we would travel 100 miles to go and talk to just one family. You know, because only one family says yes. So you travel 100 miles in the night, during the, dawn. We started greetings in winter. Oof. And it was nice. Don't ask me. And that's the days when you are talking and you can see the vapor coming out of your mouth. But we had to do it. So when we go, we check on with the Ghana embassies. We try and reach Nana, and Nana will talk to Lord, and Lord would talk to Alfred, and Alfred would and that is how we started. So it was so gradual. I mean, maybe that's our style. We start everything small, So it was very gradual, but eventually it grew. The reason is that when we started showing it and people heard about it, it was like wildfire. It went all over. And after some time, I will even go to a country to do greetings. And before I get there, somebody will play greetings on their TV for me to see. It's like I've heard so much about you people. So when I heard you were coming, I went for the tapes. And people were copying the tapes and sending it to their relatives abroad, and the people were excited, and it got better and better and better. But it was such a big hell trying to get just even one program complete, because when you go to Italy, for example, you land in Rome. Those days they will tell you that the best community you can talk to is in Vicenza, Verona, Schio, Tieni, and they were like how many hundreds of miles away. So you can't just do Rome and come back. You do Rome, yes. Ghana Embassy, communications, rapport with the Ghanaian community, and that is also one thing that Greetings did. We did a lot of communication between the embassies and then the Ghanaian community. We brought them together because when we go, we set up a Durban-like thing, and then the embassy uses the opportunity to call the community to the Durban, and we use the platform to have interactions. Okay. And that was another good thing that I think came out of Greetings, because those days the people just thought the embassy was there to do rapport between country to country. So it wasn't there, but the embassies were there to also support the Ghanaian communities. But some didn't know. So we'll tell them, when you get here, go to the embassy, report yourself, no matter what condition in which you're living, no matter what status you are in, go to the embassy, register, so somebody know that you are here. So if anything should happen to you, whether good or bad, you have somewhere to go, you have somebody to report to. So these are some of the things that happened. And we also got people to think back home. We got people to understand what is happening in our country. We got people interested in looking back and thinking about businesses, thinking about establishing whatever it is. We advised on business strategies. We advised on processes in setting up businesses. We became a link between Ghana and our people abroad, you know. So what you were seeing on TV was actually like about 1/10 of the real work that we were doing on the ground.
Stay tuned, don't even move. And we just want to find out why the princess from Edum is now in Kwabre district. Don't move. Thank you very much for staying. And I promise you it's going to be an exclusive. It's going to be exciting. And I know what, I wouldn't have enough time here, but I'll manage to get as much as I can while I am here. Now, I mean, we've gathered from the interview that, Nana is from Edum, and not just from Edum, but from the royal home in Edum. So literally, her descendants or offsprings, kind of send us to. But here she is now in the Fijai Kwabre district as Nkosuohima, helping them. How did that happen?
Well, Nana, Nkosuo is an honorary title in our chieftaincy settings. And in the Ashanti Kingdom, Otumfo Osetutu established the Nkosuo stool as one of the key stools in the Ashanti Kingdom. So that is actually where officially Nkosua Stool started.
Okay.
And as I speak to you now, we have Nkosua Hene of Ashanti Kingdom as well. And this role is played by people who have already exemplified themselves in several aspects in life. So the community look at you and decide that this is somebody we can adopt. So you can necessarily be from the community or not.
Yeah.
And it's the community's prerogative to say, yes, you don't come from here, but you have become one of us through community work, through interactions, even through remote communications. Somebody can be somewhere and the community can inform the person that because of ABCD you are doing, we think we want to have rapport with you, so we want to install you. In my case, I happen to have some interactions with the district assembly at Efija Kwabre. I did some documentaries with them. I worked with them during their homecoming. We were the events planners and executors in a way. And I think that was a very interesting inroad into the community. But as Destiny could, put it, I had a very interesting relationship with the community leaders and not just the assembly. So at the end of our time with them, I think they got hooked to us, we got hooked to them. So we didn't just leave it as we have gone to do a project or a program. We were still working with the assembly on the documentary sections. We actually still building the library of the assembly's works, and then we got to have some fraternity with the Queen Mothers as well. And I got excited because that time I was working with Queen Support in Accra. And this is a group of Queen Mothers who live across the country, who come from across the country but live in Accra. And they had come together as a group and they were doing very well. But my relationship with them changed the status quo. The reason is that I come from a marketing background. So anytime I had opportunity of getting together with group of like that, I bring in a few things that gives them visibility, that take them beyond wherever they are. So we started looking at development projects, we started looking at programs that will enhance the Queen's abilities, and we started doing radio and television interviews, So that is the time that if you realize there was some visibility about Queen Mothers in Ghana, and it was exciting to everybody. And people started saying, oh, our queens are now, getting up to do something. And so that opportunity also was transferred to the Efija Kwabre district, where I combined with the Queen Mothers to do other things apart from just being Queen Mothers. And so this also grew, our relationship grew, and then it just came about that there was an opportunity to do this installation. And the Queens said, since I did not work with just one Queen Mother in one town or one city or one village, and I was working with all the Queen Mothers in the district as a group, they would prefer that I become their Nkosua as a district development Queen Mother. So my stool actually was not for Kodie, which is the district capital. It was for the whole district. So I work in relationship with them. And the adage in Akan says, so you don't behave as if you are the district development Queen Mother, so you can do everything in the district. So the strategy is to help one Queen Mother at a time to do something in their community. So you don't seem to be the one doing, but you support the Queen Mothers to do something in their community. So the impact and the recognition actually come to the Queen Mother, but not you. I prefer to stay at the background and then just be encouraging and pushing everybody to do one thing or the other. But the good news is that we just didn't end at Efija Kwabre. It transposed into a national thing. And as I speak to you now, we have a continental network of Queen Mothers and cultural women leaders network.
I want to talk about that, but before I do that, normally, excuse me, like people on your caliber will say, oh no, I'm a Christian, no, I'm not going to accept anything with a traditional title. You know, I mean, do you get people ask you, oh, how do you combine chieftaincy and being the Queen Mother? Because I get it all the time.
You do?
Yes, all
I
the
know,
time.
yes,
How can you be a
course.
Christian and be a chief?
Yeah.
I mean, do you get it? And how do you find your Christian,
Balance.
yeah, balance?
Well, I actually did some research before I was installed, and I realized that there was nothing like fetishism with chieftaincy. You know, so there wasn't anything to fear. And then the second thing is that the Nkosua stool is not a lineage. So I didn't inherit anybody.
Yeah.
Probably when I'm gone, somebody will inherit me. But in my case...
What a good spirit to inherit, huh?
Oh, yes.
You see?
Yes, I would like to leave something for somebody to have a legacy, you know. So I actually didn't inherit. So you don't have, you know, people think that the spirit of the stool you inherit, you know, has something to do with you. So that is one thing that people fear about, but I didn't. And that gives me the freedom, you know, not to look at whether somebody is looking over my shoulder to see if I'm doing what the right thing or not, you know. And also, I also learned, I mean, looking at the chiefs and looking at the Queen Mothers of today and the kind of dynamism that is in the system and the kind of development orientation that has come and the fact that a lot of them are so religious, it gives me that kind of hope and appreciation of chieftaincy in a different dilemma. You know, because look at Otunfo, he does everything, but he would end up doing Thanksgiving service, whether it is Kweside, Kesie, whether it is the Ketwa, whether it is whatever, and just not him. Everywhere I have done festivals. I've done tons and tons of festivals over the years, and every day we are planning festivals, we end with Thanksgiving service. So whatever we want to say at the end of the day is that Christ or our Lord is the master. So yes, there's culture. Yes, there's everything, tradition. We respect everything. So we give to Caesar what is Caesar and give to the Lord what is the Lord's. And then life continues.
See, maybe we chiefs have to be, you know, spreading this gospel so that people don't shun away from themselves. We haven't done well in that aspect. But I wanted to talk about your foundation. But before I do the foundation, you know, this Queen Mothers from all of Africa, from Uganda, you know, trust you to put something like that together. I mean, how did you get in there, become a president?
It's not a long story. That one is very brief. I do a lot of advocacy, and I do advocacy with women, with children, HIV and AIDS, and all the likes, old age, you know. And I happen to work with quite a number of agencies, and I worked with UNAIDS. UNAIDS, and so sometimes when there's a forum or there's a conference or anything that they think I could be either a resource person or I could speak at that kind of event, they send me. So it was one of those events that I spoke in Zimbabwe. And my presentation was a video that I had prepared myself in advance to send for the presentation. And it had to do with PMTCT, is like parents to mother, child to mother transmission. And so my thinking was that even though I was to speak about how cultural leaders will support the UNAIDS and all the agencies that were promoting PMTCT or they were talking about HIV and AIDS prevention, I said that yes, our Queen Mothers are not being utilized as much as they should, because they are the community leaders, they are the mothers, they are on the ground. There's no community you go, you wouldn't find one community leader woman. So if you are an agency and you want to talk to the community, your best bet is to use the women community leaders. So that was my presentation.
They can come and ask me. I'll tell them in Edumasa. They can come and ask me.
You know.
It's the women who rule.
Exactly. So at the end of the presentation, I made a proposal that since my thinking is that this is a very, very, you know, amazing group, why don't we extend it from the country level to the community and to the continental level? The reason is that the UN agencies and all that work from continental levels to the communities. So since I was in a continental platform, I made a proposal that the UN Women, UNHCR, whoever was there, should look at this option as a very good thing to do. And if it is okay, they should adopt it. And fortunately for me, the Uganda Queen, Sylvia, was also in that forum. And we all spoke about cultural leaders and their role. And she supported the idea because when she was coming, she said she also thought about the fact that this should be a good platform for us to start something. So just there, we just joined forces and spoke to the UN agencies right there. In fact, we didn't even finish and they said, wow, this is an amazing proposal. Whoa. So it was adopted as one of the Harare calls of action during the conference. Wow. And then from there, AU adopted the project and the UN Women, Isaru, took it up and said, this is our baby. We'll run with it. Wow. So since then, 2010, we've been working with UN Women, UNAIDS, and all the other partners in bringing up the ACLIN. ACLIN is African Queens and Women Cultural Leaders Network. It is continental-wide, the whole of Africa.
Well, all I can say is congratulations.
Thank you.
And again, I think one subject that if I miss, even Lord is going to meet me if I don't mention Efia and how, what's the relationship between you and Efia?
She's my baby. Efia is my firstborn. I've got 3 kids and 2 adopted. So I have 5 kids. Okay. And so Efia is the firstborn. Yes.
Do you support her in the music career?
Whoa. Anybody in Ghana knows. I was there through the... In fact, even before Stars of the Future, I was going out with them. There were 2 that time. She's Efia, as well, Irene, not Irene and Jane then. There was Jane and Na. And they were just like Irene and Jane, and those were their younger days. Okay. You know, where she's from Missionette, Assemblies of God. That's where she was singing with Na, and then we started going out of church into functions, and I carried them everywhere. And people even thought they were both my kids, and I loved it, you know. And then we grew out of that, and then she did the Stars of the Future. I was there throughout. All the auditionings and the programs, and we finished, and by God's grace, God put us wherever He wanted to put us, and then we've come this far.
How is she managing with fame and notoriety? Because if you're not firm on the ground, it could shake you a bit.
I think she had an advantage of seeing how I handled mine. I think it helped. Good. You know, I wouldn't ask her to be like me. It's not possible. She should grow bigger and wider, and I'm thanking God for sending her beyond borders and to the world. And it's amazing. But I don't expect her to be like me. But it is true that because of the experience that I had, and she quickly picked it up, that it does not pay to be beyond what God has made you. Yeah. It does not pay to look like, yes, I am there, and so everybody look at me. Hey, I'm coming. Clear the way, and so what? So when you fall down now and you're gone, what happens to that? You know, so as you live, you continue to think about what you are, who you are, where were you, where did you come from, who brought you here? And if this rings in your mind all the time, you will know how to live. And live what you are and not beyond.
That was a good advice. I hope somebody took it.
I'm sure.
Obapa Foundation.
Yes.
We're looking after elderly women and children, integral part of society. But one part of society which we have all just neglected. We seem to only focus on the middle bracket. You get too old, you're rich, you're too young, shut up, don't talk, just listen to me. So it's only the middle bracket that we focus on. So what are the challenges and how are you coping?
Well, it's okay. There's something called balancing. So you balance. I have times that I work for production. I have times that I work for the NGO. I have times I dedicate to family, and that is locked. And then times that I do social stuff, you know. So the foundation is to help women and children generally. That the whole idea is that when you are out there, you are talking so much. When you come back, and so what? We want to do something with whatever we talk about. So I want an opportunity to be able to be of service, to offer something to the people that I work with, the people that I meet in the community, the people that I see every day. And so our first project, even though we are doing the old age, we are doing the younger ones, we are doing the children's home, you know, I just noticed a lack in these young girls who had gone to have babies and were having difficulty getting back to school. So we started writing a lot of papers about the teenage mothers back to school project. So it's one of my most passionate projects that we are working on now, and we are targeting taking care of about 1,000 teenage mothers across across the country. We've started with 5 districts in Ashanti region. And we have already done community entries, and we've also sampled the girls. We've left them for the education office people to counsel them with the queen mothers and select 20 from each district. So we will get 100 girls from Ashanti region from the 5 districts. And we'll replicate that in 5 districts in each region.
Okay.
So at the end of the day, we get 100 times 10. And that will be 1,000 teenage mothers. And within 5 years, by God's grace, we will be able to send 1,000 teenage mothers back to school.
Change their destinies.
Amen.
Wow.
Yes. I'm just waiting for the day one of them will graduate. I'll be so excited and I'll be fulfilled.
Call us and then we'll come.
Oh, certainly.
Call us and then we'll come, because
certainly.
I think one thing that the nation is ignoring is teenage pregnancy, and I think if we're not careful, it will come back and bite very, very hard, because they're unable to look after themselves, let alone, and then it just becomes a cycle.
And our research shows that most of them are vulnerable. Most of them don't do it intentionally. I mean, they are recalcitrant girls, but a lot of them, majority of them, are abused and vulnerable.
Yeah.
So we shouldn't just visit our anger and everything on them. We just want to see to it that they are well taken care of, so they also do not become a burden. And the 3 generations suffer. The mother of the girl suffer, the girls suffer, the baby suffer. And so you create a problem for 3 generations. When you take that problem away, you support 3 generations.
Wow. Anyway, you were swept off your feet after NAFTI. Tell us the beautiful story.
No. No. Okay. No, thank you.
Okay, I'm going to fast forward. How's Mr. coping? Because, I mean, you're more in the limelight, you're more busy, but he's there quiet, and I bet he's, forced to be reckoned with, yet, he's not out there.
Well, you life in marriages is for life, right? Sure. That's everybody goes and say for better, for worse.
Yeah.
So when you go in and say for better, for worse, you might as well just remember that everything goes with it. So you cope with it. But then you balance. That's what I was talking about. So in life, you balance. You know your spouse, you know what she does, or you know what he does. You appreciate it, you discuss it, you agree, you compromise. You suffer small, you earn small, you gain small, you laugh small. So when you are laughing, it's fine. So when you are suffering, just keep it
quiet
and continue to suffer. But I mean, we balance.
That's
we balance.
good.
So
That's
that
good.
It's nothing like squeezing here or anywhere. There's nothing like that. I think we have grown through understanding each other so much that life is pleasant.
I mean, now all the children have left home, or you still have?
Oh no, the 2 boys are here. They are not left home. Efia is still home. She just happened to be in town because of work.
Okay.
But she's still home. I cook from here to her house. I send her food. I still baby her. I love to baby her. Mommy, where is my food? And the driver is coming for it, Yes, so that's us. That's us.
Isn't that?
We've grown to love ourselves and each other so much that we hug for greetings.
Nanahemaa Awindor, finally. Like I said, I keep bumping in here. Occasionally, almost every function I go, she's there. And all I can do is just say hello and walk past. Today I had the opportunity, and I'm sure you just enjoyed it too. Folks, until I come to you next Friday with another personality, have a wonderful weekend. Thank you.
Nana.